Welcome back, gents. It's been quite the hiatus. I want to do a very quick video of this Rock River Arms barrel that I'm testing out here in this platform. It's a 20-inch stainless steel that's been cryogenically treated, 1-in-8 twist, stainless steel. Of course, I have it upside down here, but you can see where it's just a pretty basic engraving. There we go. Let's try to get it focused better. Up here you can see I'm using the Ultradyne Apollo Max muzzle brake. I've grown to like these quite a bit, although they do not make you any friends out here at the range. And I'm just using a 20 power scope from Bushnell, a Bushnell Nitro. And you're probably wondering, if you're using a scope, why do you have these on there? Well, it's because the scope is here just for accuracy testing. I've also have my Schillen build out here, that one right there with the big scope on it. And we're doing a comparison with two types of, I guess I'll go ahead and say, service ammunition. We got some green tips by IMI, and similarly the 77 grain OTMs, the Razor Core. So this is very similar to Mark 262. I've already fired the groups, so we're going to go out there and take a look at them. I think the only other thing to note is I have a Superlative Arms adjustable gas block, and it's been timed beautifully. My lower is kind of what I call my bench rest lower. I mean, as much as we can say bench rest when it comes to ARs. But I got a Timney trigger in there, their 75th anniversary edition, and a rifle length stock with a Springco green spring in there. And I think I'm using the equivalent of an H2 buffer. It's BCM's Mark II system they got going on there. So I think the buffer weight is called a T2. I might be confusing with Veltor's system. It's a pretty basic upper. I want to say it's Wilson Combat, and the handguard is actually salvaged from my very first upper, which was from AR Stoner. I think generically this is from Gun Tech, though. I can't remember. I'd have to look it up. All this I consider unimportant. I just know that I'm doing some accuracy testing with some off-the-shelf ammo, and let's go check the groups. Okay, here we are looking at groups. Let's go over our testing process here just so everything makes sense. Upper left here, I have the targets for the Schillen. These are basically, I'll go ahead and say, bench rest targets. It's a little bit of a misnomer, but whatever. Down here we have the Rock River Arms, and then I will have my facts and barrel on these two. That's going to be part of another short video that I'll be putting up. I'm doing my testing simultaneously, but the star of the show is the Rock River, and the Schillen is the control. Anyway, so these are the first two groups that I fired, and these are the 77 grain OTMs. The aim point was right here, and this is the first group, a little over an inch. Second group here, you can see that for whatever reason, despite the fact it's the same ammo, my point to impact shifted a little bit to the right, but then I have this, I don't want to say flyer, because actually it's really close to there, but I do have this outlier there. I'll take the blame for it, although I don't think it's fully me. I'll explain more later. Either way, not bad, inch and a half group. I realized that with 77 grain OTMs, we always expect a little bit better. Then in the upper right here, finally we have our 62 grain, the green tips, and you can see it's kind of a hot mess. It's almost like this wedge shape, two diagonals converging over here. My aim point was actually right here because I knew it was going to be very similar. This rifle, rather I should say this upper, sighted in for 55 grain, 193, and traditionally the 62s in this rifle do hit very similar to the point of impact. The 77 grains I know are always a little bit different with this upper, I should say. So that's the aim point for the other two down there, and these are the two corresponding groups. Let's go on to the Rock River Arms, even though you saw them just briefly. Let me readjust. Okay, here we go. So now, again, first point aim right there, we hit all the way down there. This actually looks like about the same size group. It is probably a little bit tighter. And then you can see here, the point to impact is pretty much approximately the same, maybe a little bit more to the right. Maybe I should pull out some sort of measuring software to take a look at that. Anyway, you can see here, I have another outlier. I wonder if that might be magazine related. Then up here, we have the 62 grain and 4 overlapping right there, and it still is in a diagonal pattern. So that tells me that the tune of these rifles is actually pretty close. Which one would I say is better than the other? I don't know, that's a tough call. I'll have to take a picture with the 62 grain and actually measure them to see which, but currently I'm pretty pleased with it. Because also, keep in mind, I'm using a 20 power scope for this. Up here, I'm using a Swamp Fox Kentucky long range. That's what it is. And it is a 5 to 30 scope. So this is definitely a superior scope, definitely better glass. This is a Bushnell Engage. So this is definitely an inferior scope, and the fact that it's doing just as good as, if not a little bit better, really gives me a lot of hope. Oh, yeah, the one other thing I forgot to add is that both of these barrels have about 150 shots on them both. So the difference we could see could be that one's more tolerant to fouling than the other, maybe. But that's really just throwing more noise into the wind. But still, I like it when you guys are informed. So there you go. Those are those two barrels compared with those two types of ammos. It is not a perfectly clear-cut apples-to-apples comparison, but we have an idea. And now we can do some load development with out of the barrel, but that's going to be future videos. Now I'm going to do the faxing.